Marvel Rivals Season 1 is finally here, and with the meta changing at the end of Season 0 and many of the buffs and nerfs that happened as of the new Season 1 patch, these are the 10 big winners in Marvel Rivals that are going to be dominant in Season 1, characters that you should consider maining or at the very least have a game plan to beat. Now smash that like and subscribe. I'm going to call up Marvel and have them rebuff Hela, and let's jump into it. Now the first character we got to talk about is undoubtedly Wolverine, a character that received both a nerf in the form of his Undying Animal ability from 50% damage reduction to 40% while the cooldown is active, but also a buff in the form of his base health from 300 to 350. While this is going to be a net positive for Wolverine's cycles, where his second cycle in is going to be just better because he's going to be able to have more HP when he doesn't have that cooldown to use after he initially engaged, these changes are not why Wolverine is a big winner in Season 1. Wolverine was the character that all of us misevaluated, and slowly but surely everyone realized how powerful he has become. And it's to the point in high elos, tank players are legitimately fearing their life non-stop against this character. He can consistently pull tanks out of position, kill them because he has damage that scales with max HP, meaning he's just shredding tanks. And the new hero, Mr. Fantastic, is also a character that I think Wolverine is gonna additionally feast on, making Wolverine just kind of a character that keeps a ton of tanks in check, and oftentimes in high elo lobbies, players will be forced off of double tank. And not only is he a character that's incredibly powerful, but I think potentially meta warping. Like if you don't have a way to deal with the Wolverine and you don't focus him down, force out his passive and mess up his cycles, he will consistently farm your tanks over and over again. I think this character is actually the truth and so freaking busted, and I'm working on a guide right now on Wolverine with the best Wolverine player in the world, Team Captain. So definitely smash that subscribe so you don't miss out on that guide. It'll be dropped in about a week or so. Now the next big winner that we got to talk about is Cloak and Dagger. This character was already solidly one of the best supports in the game and also super strong in triple support setups, but then they buffed her by a giant amount. Her heal dome storm CD is now 12 seconds from 15. That's a lot more uptime, and now her ultimate, she can dash 4 times instead of 3. Now this character was already really strong, right? And then they buffed her even more. She's now just insane, and I really do think that she is going to be one of the most dominant supports in Season 1 by far, especially off the back of some Mantis nerfs and other supports entering the fray like Invisible Woman. I do think that Cloak and Dagger is giving us more and more reasons to pick her over many of the other options, and yeah, a lot of Cloak and Dagger players are gonna be eating good in Season 1. Now I would say that when you're doing your ult, and one of the big mistakes I see with Cloak and Dagger's ult is they put themselves in a bad position towards the end of it, and they're not respecting certain types of crowd control that can pull them out. Can't tell you how many times I've hooked a Cloak and Dagger out of their ultimate after they are done with their dashes. So consider that with a lot of the different crowd control options that are going to see a lot of play, and make sure that you are putting yourself in a reasonable position post the end of your ultimate with that last dash, so you're not left out of position high and dry and then murdered. Now while I know Cloak and Dagger is going to be super strong, it's hard to see exactly what combination is going to be viable because we're getting a new support. There's so many different complex combinations, but I do imagine Cloak and Dagger will be a part of many of them. And also don't forget that Moon Knight got buffed, so a character that has a synergy with Moon Knight, even if it's not the best synergy in the world, is still nice because Moon Knight is going to be quite a bit more powerful. So giving you one more reason to pick Cloak and Dagger up as your main, like you needed another one. Now the third character and the first tank we have on the list is actually Thor. Now Thor is just getting everything I could possibly ask for. As someone who plays Thor as the second most played character, not only are we getting stronger synergy with Cap and Storm synergy, those characters getting massively buffed, and the synergy getting buffed is just all around amazing for Thor, because I think there's a lot more combination of characters that you can play, more characters that get benefited from playing Thor, not just Hela, who's always freaking banned, but also Thor is gonna get like some supplementary HP, just 25 more HP. It's not a lot, but you know, I'll take anything I could get. But most importantly, the non-crowd control ultimate is amazing. If you didn't know, any amount of crowd control could just cancel the ult. So you could get booped by like a Venom slamming in, you could get hit by a hook, whatever it was, you could get booped and your ultimate would just get canceled. Now it being crowd control resistant means it's just so much better into all kinds of characters like opposing Thors, like Winter Soldiers, like Jeff the Sharks, for instance. You could basically cancel his ultimate at any time, even if he uses it right on top of you. You don't have to be midair or have setups or anything like that. You can literally just pop it from the ground, BCC immune, slam down on him, cancel that ultimate. Thor also has some of the highest carry potential out of any character in the game, period. And I love freaking grinding Thor. Right now, I have a Thor guide already written and being edited right now. It's going to drop on this channel very, very soon. So yeah, look for that. Learn Thor, pop off with Thor. I also think he's the best hard carry character in the low elos as well. So yeah, high skill ceiling, can hard carry, great character, learn him. Now, I hate to keep including my mains on this list, but Marvel just keeps buffing them. You know, I dialed them up. I told them who to buff. So yeah, you know, Winter freaking Soldier. They just buffed this guy to the moon. And if you haven't learned him, if you don't play him, it's time to pick him up, because this character is going to be insane in this season. More HP, more damage, more HP gain when you use your abilities. This guy is just wild. I never thought they would ever buff Winter Soldier, much less give him a super buff, because I thought this character was already good. He was the main character I climbed all the way to eternity with, and yeah, I just think that this was not necessary, but I'll take it. The thing about Winter is that he's really good at both bullying tanks and denying flankers, and he's better at doing both now than ever. One of the things that you do the most is you'll hook a tank on the front line, you'll pull them into your team, and then you'll do like a turn and dash in where you're going to crowd control them further into your team, uppercut them further into your team, and then you get to focus them and kill them. So if tanks are out of position slightly, you pull them way more out of position and you just get to kill them for free. That's very, very strong. In addition to that, he's very good at shutting down flankers because he has multiple forms of crowd control with his hook, with his slam uppercut, and now with higher base HP and more health gain on those, it's going to be incredibly hard for divers to ever duel him. Like, with 250 and not as much HP gained, there are some characters you could struggle with on Winter Soldier as a flanker. So like Magic could get out of your crowd control and potentially kill you. Psylocke, really good ones, could burst you down before you could even react or do anything. But that's just not the case anymore. Winter Soldier is going to be good against every single freaking flanker. You put Spider-Man's in the blender. You don't care about Black Panther, and he got nerfed as well. And you're super, super good against tanks. Really, the only characters that you're afraid of are long-distance damage dealers, characters like Hawkeye and Hela, who also got nerfed. So yeah, your counters got nerfed. You're stronger against everything else. I don't know what to say besides play this freaking character. I already have a Winter Soldier guide that, even though some of the numbers are outdated, it's still really relevant as far as his playstyle, understanding, and learning the character, so I'd suggest you check that out. Plus, I'm going to be grinding this character to rank freaking 1 on stream, so yeah, so see me there. Number 5 is Rocket Raccoon, and this is the second support in the video, and this character was originally thought to be pretty weak in high elo. Even though Rocket Raccoon had one of the highest win rates, people just had the perception this character was weaker, but with nerfs to some other supports like Mantis, and then more HP now with Rocket, he's really starting to shine more and more. I mean, you're going to get a lot faster ultimates with Rocket, which is really, really good. There's an increased synergy with Punisher and Winter Soldier because it's going to be 5 less cooldown on the synergy to make them shoot faster. And guess what? Winter Soldier got super buffed. Punisher also got buffed. So Rocket got buffed, the synergy got buffed, and the two characters that synergize with it both got buffed. So yeah, this character is going to be a freaking menace. Now, at high elos, I would say you probably shouldn't play a Rocket without Punisher or Winter, but come on, you're going to have at least one of them every single freaking game. Specifically, Punisher benefits the most, but I think Winter Soldier got buffed the most this season. So yeah, I mean, you're going to be just fine no matter what. This character is going to be great. The synergy is great. I mean, everything is great. It's just lining up perfectly for Rocket. In addition to that, characters like Psylocke and Black Panther and other divers got nerfed, which are characters that are more likely to destroy your BRB. So yeah, Rocket is going to have more BRBs that are going to get a lot more value. Super synergistic with some of the best DPS in the game right now. Punisher and Weaker are really most weak to characters like Hawkeye and Hela that are nerfed and just weaker in general, while these characters got stronger. So yeah, I mean, come on, just learn Rocket, duo with the Punisher or Winter Soldier player, win every game. I mean, what more is there to say? Now, 6 is our next tank, and it's Magneto. And there's a lot of reasons to main and pick Magneto or just learn him as your flex tank this season than ever before. So one, his synergy is better with Witch. It's just going to do flat out more damage, more spell damage, more general damage. And back in the beta, Magneto was actually the best tank because of this synergy. Like, we saw a lot of Witch play, mainly because the synergy was so good and Magneto was so good that it kind of just enabled it to work. And Witch, while still kind of being a liability in the duo or the synergy, she got a lot stronger. She got a lot better. She got buffed quite a bit. And I don't necessarily think that we're going to get to beta levels here, but still a lot more reason to play this synergy than ever before. And as we're seeing, synergy really dictates composition more than ever in this game. I really do think that if you're teeter-totting between two characters that both get like similar value, the synergy is what you always want to go for. And yeah, that means that you could justify playing a Witch synergy over some other character. And that's not the only thing. Now Magneto's barrier is going to be better against characters like Psylocke, where they're going to actually target the barrier as something that is going to be targeted in the ultimate. Yeah, that's one of the nerfs that Psylocke got. And now the competitor, Strange, or one of the characters you could pick instead of Magneto, got a little bit weaker with two nerfs that are targeting his barrier health and his burst damage around him with fall off. So that is all just general buffs to the character, more reasons to pick the character, more reasons that the character is going to be better in this season. But also, Magneto is one of the best characters against mass crowd control, and I think this meta is going to be defined by crowd control. Characters like Bucky and Wolverine that are trying to pull you out of position, pull you into their team, scoop you up. These characters are like worse against Magneto than any other tank. Like, you pull a Magneto into your team as Bucky, he's probably going to get out. His barrier doesn't break. He can bubble himself. The Wolverine, he's going to try to scoop you. Magneto can probably survive that. Like, this is the only character that can reasonably against these types of crowd control, and that's a good place to be. Like, Magneto's good against what's going to be strong, and he's becoming even better and stronger himself. His competitors are weaker. His synergy's better. I mean, come on, learn this freaking character. I'm telling you. Now, the next one we got to talk about is a DPS Namor, and Namor was already climbing the ranks. I originally rated him as B. I probably should have rated him as high A, only secondary to like the most broken characters in the game that were always banned, because Namor was just so freaking strong. He's good against any sort of dive, anything that's trying to use mobility to come at you, especially if he gets that Luna synergy. He just shuts all that down. He has so much burst damage. He can off angle, drop two freaking squids, duel someone. If he hits them with a right click, the squids will target them and they'll just die instantly. He's very hard to dive himself because he can just go into the bubble and get healed. And it's just really hard to duel or clear out of positions in general. I think Namor has been shown to be one of the most powerful characters in the entire game. And now they actually buffed his freaking synergy with Luna. Luna didn't receive any major nerfs either. I know she can't like switch back and forth between her freaking ultimate like crazy, but I feel like that was a little bit of an exploit and not really something that should have been part of Luna's kit in the first place. But yeah, with no major nerfs to her and massive buffs to the synergy that was already really good, and Namor already being a top tier DPS, plus hella Hawkeye, which I think were the main counters to a character like Namor, also got nerfed quite a bit. So when they do slip through the cracks, I think Namor is actually fine in the head-to-head in a lot of situations. This all kind of paints the picture that like Namor is freaking just gonna be amazing. I really think that he's a character that a lot of people should learn. And while yes, he does have a really high skill ceiling if you get really good with like your combos and your headshots and stuff, his skill floor is really low. So he's a great DPS to learn if you're a tank player or a support player and you want to play a character that just gets a lot of value at his skill floor, not being someone that's amazing mechanically, not being someone that really understands matchups and all this stuff. Namor's a really easy character to pick up and incorporate into your hero pool as a DPS, and he's also a great character to pick up and incorporate into your hero pool as a support and tank. And I think that that's fantastic as a character. High skill ceiling, but also low skill floor. He's really easy to learn, pick up, main. I would highly recommend you adding him to your hero pool because there's so many characters that he just shuts down, so many divers he shuts down, and he's going to be good into this chain crowd control meta. He actually is part of it, and he's not going to be someone that really cares about these hooks, about these Wolverines, whatever. Namor's going to still thrive. Now, number 8 on the list is actually Adam Warlock, a character that didn't receive any changes at all, but is still a massive winner in Season 1 because this character is just busted. I know I keep saying it. People don't really understand me when I say that he's busted because he is busted, but why do I say that? Burst healing is super powerful because every time you're trying to make a play, like you see someone low, you push them, and then boom, they're back to full HP. you made a positional change, like you pushed up aggressively, you tried to make a play, and all of a sudden, that play you made is just no longer valid anymore because the person that you were pushing that you thought was low, out of position, whatever, is not anymore. In addition to that, when you make a proactive play, Soul Bond is something that makes it so characters can be effectively impossible to kill. And this is true for ultimates as well. And Adam Warlock's Soul Bond, I think, is like a top 5 ability in the entire game, and his chain heal is also like a top 10 ability in the entire game. Now, there's a couple of problems, and there's a couple of reasons why I think Adam Warlock players are not seeing the full picture about why this character is so strong. Number one, this character requires mechanical skill, like high levels of mechanical skill. He's an aimer. He's an aim character. His hit scan is his primary fire. If you're not hitting your shots, you're not building ultimate fast enough, you're not contesting characters. Like, Adam Warlock is like hella light with his primary. He can just kill so many people. You can contest Iron Mans. You can put a lot of pressure, damage, get picks. There's so much you can do with his damage. But if you're not an aimer, you're leaving a lot of value on the table with Adam Warlock. He is not a heal bot support. He's a damage-based support. You need to be outputting a lot of pressure, because another thing about Adam Warlock that we all know, he doesn't have as much consistent heal as other supports. And the reason that that works with him is because he's putting out so much pressure that his team doesn't need as much healing. You got to understand that the more damage and pressure you put out, the less damage your team is going to be taking, because these people are constantly backing up, taking cover, needing heals, whatever. They can't be as aggressive. So the way that he kind of offsets the fact that he can't heal a lot is because he's outputting a lot of damage. You need mechanical skill to kind of contribute to that. So not having mechanical skill, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. The other part of that is using your abilities too liberally. Like, if you're using Soul Bond just to keep your team alive, you're not using Soul Bond to anywhere near its full value. You typically want to use it as either a way to engage, so you Soul Bond and engage enemies, or snowball on advantage, right? You get someone low, you kill somebody, you Soul Bond, you push in, you trade out the rest, and the enemy team just gets overwhelmed. Or you use Soul Bond defensively as a pseudo-defensive ult that can, like, shut down enemy plays, enemy ultimates, and just completely just ignore them, cancel them, whatever. You time this right, and you're shutting that down. So the way that you lose on Adam Warlock is by backing yourself in a corner, by not putting out enough pressure, making it so that you're constantly just trying to top people up, so you're wasting your packs, being forced to use your Soul Bound early. And of course, this character doesn't have mobility, so he's positionally able to be targeted. So you need to be positioning well as well to get the full value out of him. But I'm telling you, if you do all these things right, he's the hardest carry support in the game, and it's not close. You play a good Adam Warlock, and there will be more of these games that just feel like the opponent can't do anything. They're just stomp games, because you're putting out so much pressure. You're creating situations where the opponents just get run over if they make one mistake. They can never make a play because you're there to shut it down. I'm telling you, this is Adam Warlock's season to truly shine, but do not commit to this character if you're not willing to fully embrace him, learn him, grind your mechanics, all that stuff, because he's a character that teaches you the full fundamentals of the game in order to be good at him. But if you become a mastered Adam Warlock, I firmly believe you could probably play anything in this game. And number 9 is Venom. And Venom got some crazy buffs to his survivability and also his ultimate, which we're seeing even potential to completely delete squishy characters with that ultimate. And the survivability means that he's just very, very difficult to kill. And he was always a close character. Venom was always close. We saw a ton of play from him in the beta. He got some nerfs. He wasn't quite shining. But make no mistake, these buffs were massive for this character. And now Venom is gonna be a freaking demon in ranked, where you're gonna kind of need some form of crowd control just to contest him at all. So characters like Winter and Wolverine, these characters are gonna be needed to just threaten this guy, because otherwise you're not killing him. Like, if you have a full dive composition like Black Panther Psylocke, or even like a Star-Lord, good luck killing this freaking Venom. Like, he's just not gonna die ever. I also think we finally reached the threshold where a solo tanking Venom is gonna be super strong in a mobility heavy composition. So you're playing with a lot of mobility heavy DPS, a dive composition yourself. Venom is gonna just be a great fit to that. But the thing that you gotta be the most careful of about Venom is making sure that your engagements are timed with your team. This goes especially if you have characters that need line of sight to deal damage. So Punishers, Winter Soldiers, Hawkeyes, Hellas, whatever. You can't be slamming in when your team is not in a position to follow that up. Venom is mostly about timing, and this means that you need to set up in positions, wait for a chance to go in, and then go in right when your team has line of sight. So when the enemy team is focused on you, you're slamming in, your team can contribute to that. A huge mistake I see a lot of Venom players make is that their timing is mismatched with their team because they're so much faster. So they get to the fight earlier, they slam in, they cycle in, they use their cooldowns, they do some damage, then they cycle out. Like, with these new buffs, you're not going to die, but your cycles are important because you're not going to kill anything either by yourself. So you're cycling in, you're not dying, you come out, now you're out of the fight, boom, now your teammates are peeking. Well, they're going to peek in, but they're not going to be able to kill anything because everyone's going to be worried about them and focused on them, and then they're going to have a tank in their face and all that. So you need to make sure that that timing is synced up. If it's synced up, you're going to kill a lot of things. You're going to create opportunities for your teammates to help you with these dives. And then a lot of the people that you're on will either have to like run away and you'll be able to do more, or they're going to take a lot of damage from someone while they're focused on you. So yeah, super important. Now it is going to be hard to learn about how to play around Winter Soldier specifically. I think that that's the one character that is going to make it hard to get a ton of value on Venom. Specifically, his hook is a cooldown that is actually easy to bait out and wait for. It's on a really long cooldown too, so try to play around that. Get used to knowing your limits around characters with max CC. I think you could still thrive here, especially if you have multiple divers and you commit to it. But your first mission of Season 1 is to learn how to play around these crowd control matchups if you want to succeed and not get farmed over and over again. Now, the last but certainly not least character on this list is Squirrel Girl. And you might be like, Squirrel Girl, really? But you gotta understand that this character was always very close to being strong. She was super good on some of the close range areas on maps like on the new Tokyo map because she has a lot of tight corridors, so she could farm ult very quickly. And I've been against Squirrel Girls that would farm like 2 or even 3 ultimates in a single fight because she's farming so much charge. Here's the problem. Her ultimate was terrible. It would hit like a tiny little crack or crevice or whatever, fly off the map, do nothing. This happened all the freaking time, and it was super easy to dodge this ultimate. So it just was kind of like a character that could build an ultimate, but the ultimate could never be a win condition. But now, because it bounces and then follows, it is way better, like insanely better, and it can create way more playmaking opportunities, win fights for you a lot easier. As an ultimate that effectively charges like faster than almost any ultimate in the game, you can go under a lot of support ultimates as well, close out a fight, create a lot of momentum. And yeah, I really think that this was the thing that Squirrel Girl needed more than anything else. She was always almost there, but when you look at like all the super powerful ultimates in the game, Winter freaking Soldier, Hela's ultimate, Psylocke's ultimate, and then you saw Squirrel Girls that would like most of the time not do anything, rarely get a kill. It just wasn't enough, right? You can't play a character that is like reasonably effective in what we call the neutral game, which is just like the trade of resources, but then have an ultimate so much worse than all these other characters. It was just unplayable. This is the thing that she needed more than anything else. They gave it to her. And now on certain points, on certain maps, she's not good everywhere because like wide open spaces, she's a lot weaker. But on these close corridors, certain areas closing to certain points, she's a menace. And I think players that learn her can whip her out in those right scenarios and know exactly the moments where she just gets to win, like just gets to win fights for your team for free. That's going to be a great flex pick to whip out. So yeah, if you're looking for something to learn right now, something to add to your hero pool, Squirrel Girl is fantastic to add. And she's also really good against like these Winter Soldier Punisher type of compositions that are going to just like sit there and like trade damage and blows. Squirrel Girl's really good against those compositions. If you're not diving her, going after her, she really thrives at just the trading damage in the neutral. So yeah, Squirrel Girl, definitely a character that I would recommend picking up this season. And I can't wait to see exactly who becomes the best Squirrel Girl in the world. Maybe it's you. But these are the 10 big winners in Season 1, characters that you should heavily consider maining, locking, learning for Season 1 to dominate. But let me know if there's any hero you believe I missed in the comments down below. Who are you maining and why? And smash that like and subscribe. We got a lot of guides coming, from a Wolverine guide with Team Captain to a Thor guide to an advanced Invisible Woman and Mr. Fantastic guide. There's a lot coming, so subscribe and I'll see you next time.